Hello, my name is Katie Britt and I'm a graduate student in the Department of Entomology at Virginia Tech. I work with Dr. Tom Kuhar, who's the vegetable entomology specialist for Virginia, and the focus of my research is integrated pest management of insects and hemp in Virginia. So since hemp is a new crop to modern United States agriculture, one of the most important first steps of this research has been to identify the key pests in this crop system. So if you take a walk through a hemp field, you're likely to see lots of insect critters out and about in your plants, but not all of those are to be worried about. So without a doubt, the most concerning outdoor pest of hemp is corn earworm. So this is a generalist pest. It doesn't necessarily prefer hemp, but because hemp is here and it's present in such large acreages now, it's highly fragrant, so it's highly attractive to the adult form of the worm. So you'll see lots of corn earworms on these plants, especially once they enter the reproductive phase. So I'm recording this in early August. As of right now, most of our hemp varieties in the state are not entirely in reproductive phase just yet. They're still at the tail end of the vegetative phase. There are some inflorescences forming on most varieties, but you're not going to be in full flowering mode just yet. But once your plant enters flowering mode, you're going to want to be on the lookout for corn earworm. The most important thing that you can do is scout often and scout regularly. That means every 2 to 3 days. You don't have to look at every plant within a given field, but it helps if you know when worms become present. So with the insecticide options that we have to manage this pest, they work better on small worms, and they work, once you've early identified this pest in your crop. So it's key to getting success by using these insecticides. One of the other key components of my research is using these pheromone traps to try and monitor adult corn earworm moth populations and see if that's at all correlated with the larval corn earworm presence on plants in fields. As of right now, we're not really seeing a correlation between these two numbers, but we're still at it, trying to figure out anything we can to see if these traps can be used as a tool to alert you as a grower when you might have a large larval corn earworm presence in your crop. As I mentioned before, corn earworm is the most concerning pest for outdoor hemp. How do we manage this pest? So, although we are limited with insecticide options, there are still some products available that are effective in managing corn earworm. The first two I'll mention are Heligen and Gemstar. The active ingredient for these two products is a Helicoverpazea nucleopolyhedrovirus, which is a virus that exclusively affects corn earworm or tobacco budworm. In order for these products to have the greatest efficacy, they must be applied at the correct time, which is when worms on plants are small. This is why regular scouting is so important. These products are completely safe against non-target organisms, including humans and all other insects, and there are no residue concerns with your final marketable hemp product. Given the nature of the product, there is a very, very low chance for worms to ever become resistant. Overall, these products are more cost-effective per acre to apply than BT. If you do choose to apply BT, we recommend that you use the BT product with the trade name Zentari. This has two types of BT in it, which are BT Kirstaki and BT Azawi, so it has a greater efficacy than Dipel or other commercial BT products. Regular scouting is still very important since BT products have greater efficacy on small worms. Lastly, although Entrust or other products with the active ingredient spinosad work really well against corn earworm, they are not labeled for use in hemp. So at this time, it's not legal to apply those products in hemp. Another insect I want to mention is the cannabis aphid. It's early August and I've started to see a couple of these on plants, but not anywhere near infestation levels just yet. This is an interesting insect, and to me it's pretty cool because it's a specialist, meaning that it only feeds on cannabis plants. So if you planted other types of crops around your hemp field in efforts to deter cannabis aphid, that won't work since this insect is only attracted to cannabis plants. So With this insect, sometimes it can get to heavy infestation levels, but I want to let you know that even when we've seen it present in heavy densities on plants, I've not really seen that resulting crop injury that results from traditional aphid feeding in other crop systems. So that's something like wilted leaves or just loss of vigor in plant material. Even in high densities, I've not really seen that in hemp, so that's a good sign. However, as this insect feeds, it releases this sticky substance called honeydew. Honeydew is sticky, like the name suggests, so it can get on the surface of leaves and could, in some cases, lead to sooty mold development, which is highly undesirable. However, a benefit for you if you're growing crops outside, you have the presence of natural rainfall and dew in the mornings and evenings, which will help get rid of some of that sticky material. If you're growing indoors, this insect is much more of a concern because you don't have this natural rainfall and dew to help get rid of the stickiness on your plants. I will say too, in cases where we've seen heavy infestations of cannabis aphid, there have also been a following of lady beetles. Lady beetles are excellent biocontrol agents. They'll come along and feed on the aphids, so that's adults and larvae. You've likely seen an adult lady beetle before. They're usually red or orange. And the larvae are black and orange, and they look like little alligators weaving along on the leaves of the plant. So again, in areas where I've seen those high infestations, lady beetles come along and kind of do the work for you. We've done an insecticide trial with this insect, but I really think that the lady beetles did more work than the insecticides themselves. So at least for right now, I don't really recommend spraying when you have this pest. One other important thing I want to mention is if you're getting your transplants from an outside source, you want to make sure that these transplants are clean and pest-free when you receive them from whatever source you're getting them from. Outdoors, this is not as much of a concern since there are an abundance of natural biocontrol insects that will help manage this pest problem. However, indoors is a completely different story. You want to inspect these plants, like I said, and make sure they're clean, because once you introduce a pest to an indoor environment, it's way more difficult to get rid of than in an outdoor environment. If you're introducing these plants into your indoor facility, it's even a good idea to quarantine the plants for a few days to make sure that even if they do have a pest problem, they're not going to allow that pest to expand into the plants that you already have. So one of the insects that you'll see very frequently in hemp is stink bugs. Here in Southwest Virginia, we have quite an abundance of the brown marmorated stink bug. But I want to let you know that based on all the work we've done thus far, we've not been able to see any resulting crop injury from the presence or feeding of stink bugs. So rest easy. If you see stink bugs in your crop, don't worry about spraying, don't worry about managing that insect. One other group of insects in hemp that I want to talk about are the chewing insects. So these are insects like grasshoppers and beetles. I've seen more grasshoppers in hemp this year than ever before, so I feel like it's appropriate to talk about them. These insects will come in and feed on leaf material of hemp plants. But based on one of my most comprehensive experiments thus far, where we simulated this type of chewing injury to hemp plants, we were not able to see any kind of negative impact to yield. So at least at this time, I feel comfortable telling you that even if these insects are present in your hemp and they consume a considerable amount of leaf area from your plants, don't worry too much. I think that the plant can really tolerate that level of damage.
If you'd like more information about hemp production practices, pesticide safety in hemp, or insect, plant pathogen, or weed management, check out our new Virginia Hemp IPM guide. You can find and download this guide by visiting the publications section on the Virginia Cooperative Extension website.
Thanks so much for joining me to learn more about hemp insects. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. My contact information is provided at the end of this presentation.